Hi, everybody. My name is Her, and thank you very much for coming over to listen to me today. I hope your day is going well, and it's not too much information so far. There have been some great speakers before me, so I've been listening to them as well. So today, the topic of my presentation is about EvalC3. So some of you might have already heard about this Excel-based software, which is developed by Dr. Rick Davis. Valentine was just speaking about, one of the events that Dev Cafe has held, having Rick Davis as well. So it's one of his contributions to the Evaluation Society. So one of the things as evaluators we often face is validating the causality of an intervention, and identifying what actually caused the outcome of your intervention, which is normally based on some activities, some assumptions, and some outcomes. So this tool has been very transformative in my career. I have used it twice. Once in a war-affected country, and then once for a very complex gender related, gender equality and gender empowerment related program. And I have examples of both here. So the sector has come up with a lot of innovative tools for designing and planning, such as theory of change, lock frame, and many others like that. And together with implementation and M&E, EvalC3 could be a very useful tool where you could look at the causality of an intervention, what has caused what, and then you can develop some prediction models, which is about which is helpful in terms of your future programming, like what actually causes this problem. It's not that straightforward, but I'll quickly take you through it so that you are aware of it. And then if you need more information, there is a community of practice on EvalC3. And then also a very good website, which is called evalc3.net. So what is EvalC3? It is basically, as you can see on the screen, it is a combination of two great evaluation approaches. One is qualitative comparative analysis, and one is predictive analytics. So for those who know, it's really good. For those who don't know about these, QCA is qualitative comparative analysis. QCA is a method of causal analysis. It's basically used in political science, and it's used primarily for academic research. But nowadays, a lot of evaluators are trying it for their evaluations. Basically, what it does is it identifies necessary and sufficient causes of an intervention. As you know, outcomes can be caused by a single attribute or a variety of different attributes. And then predictive analytics is interesting. It comes from the business field. A lot of stock exchange market is using it to predict customer behaviors, predict like the buying behaviors, and etc. It uses a range of algorithms, and each has its own strength and weakness. There is a confusion matrix there, which is really confusing. I'll take you through it in a second. And then what EvalC3 does is EvalC3 combines these two in an Excel sheet. So the example, a table you're seeing here is just an example. It's from a paper, and it is about women's participation in parliament. So the last column that you're seeing here is about like parliament, which had greater than 17% women present in their national parliament. And the 0 and 1 you see is how EvalC3 and QC operates. It's basically binary numbers, either 0 or 1. 0 means it's not present, and 1 means that the attribute is present. So as you can see, there are four areas, four countries where the outcome is present, and there are three countries where the outcome is not present. And there are 4 attributes that you see here, whether there is a quota for women, women's status, which is about women's education, literacy rate, and etc., human development index, and then post-conflict situation. So what you see here is in the bottom, Namibia, Senegal, Tanzania, and Uganda, they have some common characteristics which leads to the presence of outcome. So all these four countries have quotas for women, and their human development index is greater than 0.4, and the outcome is present. While the same attributes are present in Botswana, but the outcome is not there. So this is kind of a model on which EvalC3 works, and I'll explain it to you in a bit more detail. I have actually made more slides than the time is here. So what you see here is a confusion matrix. So it's really confusing, as you can see. So what is happening here is the first diagram, which says the attributes are present, and the green encircled one says here the outcome is present and the attributes are present. As I described in earlier table, there were like 4 countries where the attributes were present and the outcome was present, but there was one country where the outcome was present, but the attributes were not present. So this is how it gives you the data, and it looks at the different rates. It tells you the accuracy rate, how many, the percentage of true positive, and the percentage of the, 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 the the positive predictive value and those kind of things, which are something to go in more detail, and an explanation of every single one of it is available on the website. And so how does it work? So when you go on this software, there are a variety of different ways you can run the alert algorithm. So there are 4 of them are given here. Like you can make a decision tree, you can find additional attributes, one attribute, and then you can add on to more attribute, or you can just run like a test of all the configuration of attributes. So I know it's for a 15-minute presentation, it could be a bit confusing. So I have 2 examples. The first one is from War Child. It's an organization that works with children in some of the war-affected countries. So we used EvalC3 to find out common attributes of children in Afghanistan who were being deported from Iran, where they basically go for some economic activities. So that was the program funded by UNICEF. So what we learned from there, I'll also show you the prediction model there as well. But what we basically learned from there is that data does not come pre-prepared for analysis. You have, as soon as you receive the monitoring data, you have to do a lot of work with it. There might be a lot of missing data points which can affect your prediction, and so you need to go back and work on it, and then try to find out the data. And if you don't have much confidence in it, then you may want to take it out. And then every single dimension has like multiple dimensions further, because like when one attribute is multiplied with all the other attributes, so that can be quite a lot. So you need to make sure that you reduce the dimensions as much as possible. Like for example, you can take out the information that are not very critical for the outcome to come true, Um, and as I mentioned earlier, there are multiple options that you could use to run your analysis. You could run it by single attribute. You can test the connection of one attribute with the outcome, or you could run an algorithm which can do it for you. For example, in the case of like women's presence in parliament, you can either run one single attribute and you can see the HDI and the presence, or you can only check the GDP and the women's presence parliament, or you can search an algorithmic search which can tell you combination of different attributes that takes you to the outcome. So this model comes from the data set we had in Afghanistan. So children who are actually, sorry, it's not showing up properly. Um, so basically, children who were likely to go back to Afghanistan had these four attributes. So they didn't complete their 3 months vocational training in Afghanistan. They were living with friends rather than families in Afghanistan. And these children who tend to return to Iran for economic activities were basically adult-headed households rather than child-headed households. And the fourth one I cannot see, but I'll look at my own presentation here. Yeah, not farming in Iran. So basically, it's very interesting. So children who were not doing farming work are more likely to go back to Iran for economic activities. And then this is an assumption that, like for example, these children normally do farming work in Afghanistan. So when they go back to Iran and they're doing the same work, so that's not very charming for them, like not very attractive for them. So compared to these children who were doing some techie sort of work, some mobile repairing, etc., they were much more likely to go back to Iran compared to this contribution. And this is the model that tells you whether the outcome was present or not. As you can see, um, there were like total 60 cases of children that we selected to analyze through this. But this model tells us that the attributes, the combination I showed you, is neither necessary or not sufficient for the outcome to come true. But there are majority of the cases which are either on a positive side, or they were not leading us to the outcome. So there is another example that I have, which is from Women's Access to Justice program in Middle East. So here we were looking at the common characteristics of women who would take action against an abusive relationship. For example, so as you can see in this model, there is one confusion matrix on the right hand side, and on the left hand side there is the outcome, which is that a woman files a divorce. So this woman filing a divorce was analyzed over 22 attributes, 22 different attributes, and then we found the best performing combination of attribute being these four attributes that you see on the left side. So woman files a divorce if her children are not being abused in the family, and she has major concerns on her relationship, including husband involved in adultery or things. And she has high level of confidence on the this is Lecarvo is an organization of lawyers who provide support to women who wants to access justice. And fourth one I cannot see again here. Yeah, and interestingly, the fourth one is the husband has not left her, which means the husband has not abandoned her. She's still living with her husband. So these were the combination of attributes that takes a woman to take a decision on filing a divorce. And this model was true in 79% of the cases. This was sufficient for the outcome to come true, but not necessary because there were 21% more cases in which this model was not true. Another outcome that we looked at here was that a woman, again, you can see the outcome here, that a woman leaves an intimate partner relationship. So one is filing a divorce and one is leaving the person and not living with him anymore. Um, so the attributes that were best performing here were children have not been abused. She has major concerns on the relationship, and then she has high confidence on the organization providing some support. So these are the models that could predict an outcome to you, on the basis of which we can design new programs or we can invest more energy. For example, on the contrary, you can also see the absence of an outcome, and you look at the cases where women who did not have confidence on the partner or the organization that was providing legal services, um, they did not go for a divorce. So what it tells us is the attribution of an activity being present or a presence of an organization that takes a woman to take an action. So basically, that is it. I wanted to give you a quick snapshot of what it is. And Excel, as you know, is a free software. EvalC3 is free as well. So with a little bit of reading on the website and joining the community of practice, you will be able to run similar algorithmic search and find the prediction modeling for your programs, considering you have the data for it. And the website is given here, evalc3.net. And on the website, you will find a link to community of practice, which you can join, and then you'll be in touch with other evaluators who are using it. Uh, Please feel free to come to me as well if you want to. You can also find Rick Davis' email address there as well. We can help you. And that is how I did it. I learned from it, consulting people, and I'm sure you can use that as well. And that is it from my side. Thank you very much, everybody. Hello.
Thank you very much for. We have one question that's you mentioned last. That was how did you learn to use LC3? Um, so I'm giving you back the floor again for just a minute.
Yeah, that's a very good question. How did I learn to use EvalC3? It sounds very confusing, right? So I'm still not an expert. Um, but as I mentioned, there are a lot of good people available who can help you answering some of your questions. It's very self-explanatory. You just need to start using it. Just find a data set and then just play with it, just like any other technology. Uh, it's very easy for you to get used to it. Excel, most of the things you already know, so you don't need to understand the platform and the functions and those kind of things. It's very simple, but it's quite self-explanatory as well. But again, go to the website and join the community of practice, and then you'll see it. And how I came across this technology was I attended one of Rick Davis' session where he was explaining this, and I was like, so I mean, so we are all in international, like majority of us are in international development, and I was at that time working for Warchild, based in its headquarters in London. And one of my role was to technically supervise some of our evaluation people in the countries. So when I heard about Excel, I said that's very good. Rather than a very difficult software, we're using a software that majority of us already know. So I started learning more about it. I did some research on the website and I got in touch with him. I joined the community of practice. And then I just like I had the data set, I put that there, and then it was very easy. It wasn't a rocket science. But then if there was some question, you can always go to the community of practice or ask other experts.